Right, we're live. I think we're live. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much for joining me. This is the final live stream for me for 2020. What a year it's been. And yeah, it's going to be my monthly live Q&A. I do these on the last Wednesday of every month. Sorry about that. And we realised when we were doing the schedule that the last Wednesday of this month was actually going to be between Christmas and New Year. And we thought, should we do this or should we bring it forward? And then we thought, no, I'll tell you what, we'll do it. So yeah, I know it's New Year's Eve tomorrow. It's just moved so that I'm a bit more centralised. I've got my Under Falling Skies t-shirt on, which was a gift from CGE for Christmas. We've got various Christmas stuff here and we're ready to go. So the way this is going to work is I'm first going to go through all of the questions that I've been asked in advance on my Board Game Geek Guild. Vicky is going to post a link to the guild. If you are not a member of the guild, please join up. And make sure when you join up, you also subscribe so that you see some of the stuff that's happening. Otherwise, you won't get any notifications. Anyway, every month I post a list in advance and I basically ask for questions. So I'm going to go through all of those questions first. And at the start of January, I will be posting a new thread asking for questions for the Q&A at the end of January. I'll go through all of those first. And then we'll go to the live questions. So if you are planning to be here for the whole show, we're going to be here for about an hour and a half. If you can stay for the whole show, then hang fire with your questions until we get to the live part of the show. If you can't hang around, just put the word question in capitals, followed by your question, and Vicky will copy those into a Google Doc, which I can see while we're doing this. But yeah, thank you very much to everybody for joining in, and off we go. Let's start off with a question from Ben Filler, who is a relatively new patron supporter who lives just up the road in Taunton, actually. And Ben has asked me, what's my top 5 favourite solo games at the moment? Now, that's not an easy question to answer because although I have been doing quite a bit of solo gaming over the last year, maybe a bit more than a year, I got into it kind of just before... Chat's gone, apparently. Right, okay. Sorry about that. I'll get the chat back. It was there. Oh, there you go. It's all back. Right. I'll keep that on screen. In fact, what I'll do is if I move that to there. Oh, no, that didn't work. There. If I move that to there, hopefully, just bear with us a minute. There you go. I can still see the chat on screen and I just can't see myself. That's good. Right. Anyway, yeah, this is a difficult question to answer because, so I started solo gaming a bit more probably the middle of last year. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a solo gamer, and I haven't actually played that many of them. I am planning a lot more. There'll be more coming in January. There'll be a lot of solo games played in January. And I'm doing a few on the channel now, but I still prefer multiplayer games where possible. So for me to pick my 5 top favourite solo games at the moment, it's quite difficult. What I'm going to do, though, is I've had a think about this. And the first thing is, there's a lot of games which are very well known for being very good solo games. Arkham Horror Living Card Game, Marvel Champions, Mage Knight, Spirit Island, even Gloomhaven, Aeon's End, things like that. Although they are great games, and I like every one of those games, I would generally always play those games multiplayer. I have played some of them solo, but I think the multiplayer experience of those games is a better experience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and pick on solo games or solo modes for games and ones that I've enjoyed in the last year. Whether this is my top 5, who knows? So Under Falling Skies is one of them, and I know I was sort of part of the development team a little bit, but only a tiny little bit, and I do a lot of work for CGE, but Under Falling Skies is excellent, so that's on there as a solo game which I really enjoy and I want to play more of. I've recently played Kanban EV, and I know I'm professionally involved in doing rule books and videos for Vittel, but I had no involvement in the design or development of the solo mode, and I recently did a solo game of that. The solo mode was designed by David Turtsey and it was really good. That video is on the channel if you're interested in watching it. I got together with Andy from One Man and His Meeple and we played the solo game together, and yeah, that was really good. Cloudspire I think is an excellent solo game, and that is a game which, unlike the other ones which I mentioned, like Arkham Horror Card Game and Marvel, where I said I much prefer to play multiplayer, it's because the multiplayer experience of those games is similar to the solo game, whereas solo Cloudspire is a very different experience, okay? Solo Cloudspire is very much like a tactical puzzle game. I keep knocking him. I might have to move him because I'm going to keep knocking him. There you go. So yeah, so Cloudspire is an excellent solo game. Feast for Odin, really enjoy that solo. Ora et Labora, really enjoy that solo as well. And another couple of games that I've played recently. Praga Kaput Regni and Halatau. I've played solo games of those recently. And what's interesting about the solo modes for those games is a lot of people don't like them because they are literally just play the game as you would normally with no opponent and just try and beat your own score. And yeah, I don't know if their chat isn't updating. Yeah, I'm just going to refresh the chat. Obviously, when it breaks, it stops updating. I thought that, otherwise everybody has fallen asleep. Right, so there we go. Yeah, so Halatau and Prague Kaput Regni. The reason I enjoy those solo is that I enjoy playing those games. So I get a similar experience of playing those games solo as I do multiplayer because I'm essentially doing the same thing. And I know a lot of solo gamers don't like that. They actually want some kind of AI opponent or whatever. And another game that I played recently for the solo mode is Merv. Now, although I think the solo mode for Merv is good, the reason I've put it on this list is because the solo mode is very clever and it works very well. For me, I'm not too keen on having to do lots of admin. It isn't too much admin, but there is some admin that you have to do in Merv. So it's not a game I would necessarily play solo, but I did think it was a very good solo mode. Right, so there you go. There's some solo modes. What I will say is ask me again at the end of January, because in January I'm going to be doing a whole load of solo live streams. So yes. Right. Michael has got a couple of questions. First of all, he wants me to rank my top 3 favourite games of each of these designers. Right, now I haven't done that because that's... Yeah, I would actually have to sit down and think about that quite a lot. So what I've done is I'm going to give you my favourite game from each of the designers that you mentioned. The first one is Vladimir Suchy. One of those games, I've actually got 2, and I'm not sure which. I've got Underwater Cities and Pulsar 2849. Underwater Cities is a more complex game and is probably my favourite out of the 2, but it's hard for me to distance myself from Pulsar 2849 because I was definitely on the development team for that game. And unlike Under Falling Skies, where I was only a tiny part of the development team, Pulsar 2849, I was quite a big part of the development team for that game. So I'm going to give it to Underwater Cities. It is a bit more complex. Pulsar 2849 is nice and streamlined, but yeah, I do enjoy Underwater Cities. Next designer he wants to know is Uwe Rosenberg, and that is Feast for Odin. So my favourite Uwe Rosenberg game is Feast for Odin, although there are a few that I really enjoy. Stefan Feld, my favourite Stefan Feld game is currently Trajan. Nothing has beat that yet. And my favourite game from Alexander Pfister is Great Western Trail. Although again, there's a couple of other ones that are really, really good. So yes, so they're my favourite games from those 4 designers. His second question is, what do I think are the 3 best designed games of all time? So not my favourite games, but the best designed games. And how do they compare to my 3 favourite games of all time? So I had a little bit of a think about this, and you know, if I was to actually answer this honestly, it would take me days and weeks to actually compile my results. It is an interesting question asking for what I think is the best designed games. But in thinking about it, there is a tie-in. Okay, so my favourite games, my 2 favourite games are probably Mage Knight and Through the Ages, and then there's about 20 other games fighting for 3rd place, okay? And I personally think those are also extremely well-designed games and very clever. Therefore, I think there is very much a connection between the 2. If a game is very well designed, I am inclined to like it more because it's so well designed, and that's the kind of thing. So yeah, I haven't really answered the question, but I've kind of given you 2 of my top 3 favourite games, and yeah, it's an interesting one. I might actually post this on my guild. So once you're all a member of the guild and you've all subscribed, I'm going to post this maybe tonight. And the question is going to be, which game do you think is a well-designed game, but isn't one of your favourites, and why? So a game that you respect for being a good game that's well-designed, but you don't particularly like it. And then I'll have a chance to think about that. That's a question that I'm going to put on my BGG guild. So you can all join in with that conversation there. Right. Next question is from Chewy. At the end of an unusual year for all of us, what has been my best gaming memory of the year? So this year has been a difficult year for a lot of people, and we've all had to adapt to the current world situation in more ways than one. But there have been a number of highlights, and I've had so many small highlights that it was hard for me to pick out one. So playing Through the Ages against Vlager. Did a live stream where I played Through the Ages against Vlager and I managed to beat him. Okay, now it was more through luck than skill, but he took a very aggressive strategy and didn't manage to draw the aggression cards. But that was one of my most enjoyable streams because Vlager is a really nice person. Doing a live stream, playing against him and beating him at Through the Ages, achievement ticked. You know, I'm never going to do that again. So that was a good highlight. Playing Too Many Bones with Jeremy Howard. Jeremy does a lot of videos for Man vs. Meeple. I've got a lot of time for Jeremy. Played Too Many Bones with him. That game was memorable in that both of us were playing characters we didn't know how it played. It was going terribly. I was having multiple technical difficulties. The stream was crashing every 30 minutes. We ended up with somebody watching the stream coming on our Skype call to explain to us how our characters work. In some respects, it was a disaster, okay? Because I'm not comfortable doing streams where I don't know the characters. And I thought after playing Too Many Bones a couple of times, I'll be ready for these new characters. And I played Lab Rats and haven't got the faintest idea how they worked, even at the start and still at the end. I was just completely lost. So that was memorable. I did a stream of Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion with Isaac Childress, so that was quite memorable. And one of the highlights of this year, and this has been due to the global situation, is that I've been playing a lot more games online. So rather than having friends round, I've been doing a lot more gaming online. And what that has done is it means I've been able to open up the people who I play online games with. So a lot of my Patreon supporters, a lot of you who are watching this now or later, in the past have obviously watched a lot of my videos, but this year some of you have had the opportunity to play games with me online, and that's been really enjoyable for me. And I'd like that to continue next year. So the friends who regularly come around my house to play games, whenever that will happen, we will still do that, but I still want to be doing some live streams, playing games over Tabletop Simulator with Patreon supporters. So yeah, that's been a highlight as well. And me and Vicky played through and finished the Tainted Grail campaign, which was very memorable because of the narrative and the story related to that. I've spoken about that many times. Right, Jeff wants to know, he says he's been playing a lot of games of Rococo Deluxe recently, and he's got some friends obsessed with Brass. So Rococo Deluxe and Brass, both games that in the last couple of years have had a facelift in terms of graphic design, artwork. Rococo didn't have any rules changes, but I believe certainly Brass Birmingham changed some rules. And Jeff wants to know if I've got any good thoughts for a game which is currently out of print, which should be resurrected with deluxe components, new art, solo modes, and everything else. This is not a question I was able to answer. I was looking through the list on BGG, and every one I came across, which I thought, oh yeah, maybe it's time for a new version of that. It's still in print. You know, Tzolk'in, Dominant Species. I was thinking, maybe it's time for a new version of that. So I couldn't actually think of anything. So this is a question that I'm going to ask for the chat. So a question for the chat. This isn't going to go on the guild. This is a question for the chat right now. If you have an idea of an older game, definition of older is totally up to you, which is currently out of print, okay, that needs to get a new version, new artwork, deluxe components, whatever, put your answers in the chat and we'll see what people think. Right. Miguel wants to know, what would be the board game related project of your choice for 2021, provided that there were no restrictions in terms of time or space, deadlines, bills to pay, travel, etc.? The answer to that is the same as it was at the start of this year, which is Gloomhaven the card game. Okay, now Gloomhaven the card game exists here. I have been thinking about this now for about 2 years. I have some stuff down on paper, which then when I met with Isaac and went through it with him, got thrown away. I then went back to the design board, and that's been sort of on and off. Now, as many of you know, this year has been difficult for me workload-wise, but if I had infinite amount of time, Gloomhaven, the card game, I've already got quite a bit of it designed in my head. The next stage is literally for me to make a physical prototype, work out a few things, and just play one short scenario to see if it works. Yes. Okay. So there we go. Brian wants to know. Now this is a really important question. Okay. This is, given the firmer, almost crunchy nature of Aldi's own brand of Jaffa cakes, do I think that they have crossed the line from being Jaffa cakes into Jaffa biscuits? Now, bearing in mind, one of them fell out of the packet a week ago and Vicky found it in the cupboard, and then I ate it a few days later and it was rock hard. Yeah, I think definitely it depends on how you leave them. If you take them out of the packet and you eat them within 24 hours, then they're probably still cakes. After that, probably biscuits. But yeah, very good question, Brian. Right, Chris wants to know, has the increase in the amount of time people have been online this year led to a decrease in friendliness? Maybe people have forgotten how to have social interactions. Now, oh, the chat has just broken again. This is really weird. I don't know why the chat keeps breaking, but at least it's on screen so I can see it. There you go. So online interactions have always been more difficult than in-person interactions. You know, the amount of things that people will say to other people online, which they would probably never say to somebody in person. So yeah, online stuff has always been more difficult. Do I think it's any more difficult this year than last year? Possibly. But I think one of the things that I've noticed this year, and this is, I've noticed this on Twitter a lot, I've also noticed it on various Facebook groups a lot, is there's a lot more hostility out there. And this might have been there before. I mean, I don't really go on Reddit much, where I believe there's a lot going on. And people say that the Board Game Geek forums are an absolute cesspit and full of trolls. Well, if they are, I don't see them. And I subscribe to a lot of games and I'm on the BGG forums quite a lot. So yeah, if there are, I don't see them. But one thing that I've noticed this year, and I think this is down to the situation we're in. It's not just been COVID that's been the problem this year, okay? We've had a lot of other very serious issues going on in the world, the Black Lives Matter movement and a number of other things, American politics and things like that, British politics, right? There's been a lot of bad stuff going on. A lot of people are angry. A lot of people are upset. And I think a lot of people are using social media to express that anger, maybe. And I think people are less forgiving of anybody else. So I've noticed this a lot, and I've had to take a step back away from social media. I don't get involved in this stuff myself, but I see it go on all the time, and it's not nice to see. It makes me uncomfortable to see that people are lashing out at each other. And I don't mean trolls or anything like that. I mean people who I know lashing out at each other. And all I can think of is that it's down to so many people right now are in a bad place, that are stressed, they've got a lot of bad feelings, and that is coming out in online interactions. But other than that, yeah, as I say, online stuff can bring out the worst in people. Do I think it's been, has the increase in people being online led to a decrease in friendliness? Back to the question. I don't think it has for me. Despite all of that stuff I said, that's not people who I regularly engage with. If people are like that, I tend to take a step back away from them. The people who I engage with online, and again, that has been due to the global situation, global pandemic. I spend a lot of time on the Slack group for my Patreon supporters. I spend a lot of time on various Facebook groups and other places, and those interactions that I've been having with people have been generally supportive and positive. So yeah, so that's a good thing. Right, Gareth wants to know, how often do I learn a game only to realise that it's not for me? And he's then said, even though it's very well made or designed. But I'm going to leave that, let's forget that bit. How often do I learn a game and then realise it's not for me? Okay, and we can leave off the last bit. I think this is quite rare. In general, I tend to be more, what's the word I'm looking for? Picky, fussy, choosy about the games that I'm getting. In general. Okay, now I don't always do this, and a recent example is Ginkgopolis. Now, I haven't played Ginkgopolis yet, but I might play it and then really not like it, okay? I might, I don't know. But it's a game which has been talked about for many, many years. Loads of people have said it's fantastic. It's been out of print for so long. They announced they were doing a new version. It was a client of mine. It was somebody who's used me professionally. And they said, we're doing a new version. It was Pearl Games. And I said, oh, is there any chance I could get a review copy of Game Copies? And they said, yeah, we'd absolutely, you know, for your work on Troyer's Dice and this, that, and the other, we'd absolutely happily send you a copy of it. Now, that could be a game where I'm super excited about it because everybody said it's really good. And I start to play it and I go, I'll tell you what, this really isn't my kind of thing, okay? So I think it's quite rare. And there are other games as well which I have to learn professionally. There are games which I've worked on the rule books for, which when I start playing them, I'm like, oh, it's got blind bidding in it. I don't like blind bidding, okay? But that doesn't mean that I don't work on the game. I still obviously take my work on the game seriously. It's just, it's not a game that I would play personally. There's also, without naming any specifics, there have been a few games which I have live streamed this year. When I started live streaming and I started doing these live playthroughs, I started doing too many. Okay, and I started saying yes to lots of people who were asking me to do videos. And some of those games that I've played, I've ended up sort of, I don't want to say regretting it, because at the end of the day, it was a job. They approached me. They wanted me to do a video on the channel. I said I would do a live playthrough. I did the live playthrough. I got paid for it. Job done, finished. But as a gamer, I'm playing the game and I'm like, this isn't very good. But I would say that those games weren't well designed. I think if a game is well designed, I don't know, it's tricky. It's tricky. I can't think of one offhand. Selective is the word I was looking for earlier on. I wrote it on my list and then didn't do it. Right. Christopher Chetwood says, what is my favourite gaming accessory? Chris is fond of wooden dice trays. Now, I don't really have much in the way of gaming accessories other than dice trays. So about a year ago, maybe more, yeah, just over a year ago, I had no dice trays, okay? And I really wanted a dice tray because some of the videos that I was doing, and I remember when I was filming the Galaxy Trucker video, which has lots of rolling of dice, I had to film like 50 takes to get the dice to roll just in camera shot, okay? And I had plans for about a year and a half to build my own dice tray. We've even got some wood in the garage that my dad started to cut apart. And then eventually somebody made me a dice tray, and then somebody sent me a dice tray, and then I got another dice tray, and I've now got 5 dice trays, okay? So they're about the only gaming accessory that I have. I do have a dice rolling tower. The problem is I can't really use it on streams because you throw the dice in the top and it's really loud. Yeah, other than that, I do have lots of things that CGE gave me. Can you see there's a big pile of them. Yeah, so CGE made a load of plastic tub container things. And I've had these for ages. So I guess these are a gaming accessory. And I know Stonemaier Games did similar ones, but they're a little pot. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to put the components in here, and then there's a clip on top. Okay, so you can actually keep them in the box like that. And then you just take them out, put them on the table, and they're there. I don't do that because I don't have hundreds of them for every game, but these are really nice little component trays with a nice smooth edges. So yeah, so I do like them and I use them quite a lot in a lot of the live streams. Right, Peter wants to know my opinion on the price of games. He said it seems it's constantly increasing. For example, if a game like Through the Ages, A New Story of Civilization had been released today, what price do you think it would have? Now, Gareth actually responded to this on the BGG Guild thread and said, well, what hasn't increased in price? Now, I'm going to read out this because it's interesting. Gareth is going by his fallible memory. Petrol, or gas in the USA, as it's called, has more than doubled in price in 20 years. Now, bearing in mind the first time I went to Essen was 20 years ago, what did I pay for a board game when I first went to Essen? It was probably about 30 euros. Now, you go to Essen and buy a game, it's probably about 60 euros. So that's about doubled. Gareth also says the price of a block of chocolate has increased by half over the past decade. and he's expected that rent has gone up by 50% over the next decade. So yes, prices going up all the time. And for those of you of a similar age to me who remember the good old days when games were cheaper and Mars bars were 10p, then yeah, the price of everything is increasing. However, saying that, I think the price of games has started to rise more sharply in the last 3 years. And I suspect with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, it's going to rise further at the current rate. And I think it's a combination of a few things. Part of it, I have to say, I think, and this is my unprofessional personal opinion, some publishers have realised that they can up the price and they will still sell their game. So they have done, okay? Others, it's a more legitimate reason, like the price of components has gone up, the price of wood or card or whatever. Kickstarter may have impacted on the price of retail games as well. I'm not sure. But yeah, games are increasing in price, sometimes because components are getting better and sometimes not. Who knows? Right. Neil wants to know. He says, I see you're working on ISS Vanguard, which I am. That's been announced this month, which is pretty exciting. I know you like to remain impartial about projects you're involved in. Do I have any thoughts about the game so far that I can share or secret insights? I can tell you every single thing I know about ISS Vanguard at the moment, which is very, very little. Okay, now I'm excited about ISS Vanguard for a couple of reasons. The first one is we were playing through Tainted Grail and we were really enjoying the narrative story element of Tainted Grail. Okay, ISS Vanguard, from what I do know, I don't know much about it, but I believe it is narrative based and story, and it's sci-fi, and I love sci-fi. I don't know whether I love sci-fi more than I like fantasy, but I do like sci-fi as well. I saw the artwork for the game, and in fact I got an artwork book. So when the copy of Tainted Grail arrived, it had an artwork book from ISS Vanguard in it. And I looked at the artwork, and the artwork of the game was like, wow. Now I know it's only artwork and it has no bearing on the game whatsoever, but I was excited about it because I think the team behind the creative team at Awaken Realms can produce some really astonishing stuff. And yeah, ISS Vanguard is their first, I think, spacey theme. So I'm excited to be working on the project. In fact, I'd had a conversation with them a number of months ago to say that if they wanted me to work on the project, I would be very happy to, because just from the artwork alone, I'm excited about it. Because I'm going to be professionally involved in the game in terms of writing the rulebook, I have stayed away from finding out any more information about it. So all of those people who've done playthrough videos, all of those people who've done previews of it, I haven't watched a single one. I haven't looked at the Kickstarter page much other than looking at the pictures, because they're going to be developing the game. When I start writing the rulebook for a game, I need to go in almost as cold as possible. For me to go in now and start watching all of those playthrough videos of a game, which is still in development, that is going to hinder my work when I actually get around to working on it in the middle of next year. So yes, I don't have many thoughts on ISS Vanguard, and I won't have many thoughts until probably May or June. At that point, I'm hoping their development work has reached a stage where I can start actually getting involved in writing the rules. But getting involved in writing the rules at this stage, no, because they're still developing it. Scott wants to know, what is the funniest mistake I've made on a live stream? And I had to have a bit of a think about this, because when I make a mistake, I normally feel really bad. My anxiety levels, peak. And what some of you probably don't realise is that I can have some kind of technical issue or mistake at the start of a live stream, and then I have to carry on and do the live stream, even though, and anybody who suffers from anxiety issues will know what it's like, I'm on edge. And then when the stream finishes, I'm like, oh, because I felt bad for the last 2 hours of the stream because something went bad at the start. In terms of funniest one, this would probably be, I think, the Hero Quest one we did. We did a live playthrough of Hero Quest on Tabletop Simulator, and what I did in the game, and it was a mistake, it wasn't like a gameplay mistake or anything, but I tried to move the dice tower, and then what happened is physics took over, and the dice tower within Tabletop Simulator had some kind of collision interaction with a nearby object and sort of flew up in the air, and all the components went all over the place. And I started laughing, and it was quite funny. It was definitely a mistake, and it was definitely the funniest one I've done. And yeah, it was the best part of the stream, I think. I haven't mentioned the giveaway. Yes, I'm doing a giveaway. So it's 5:30. We're half an hour in. Thank you to everybody who is watching. I am doing a giveaway. This is supported by Gameslaw, the UK's largest specialist games retailer. We didn't actually do a giveaway last month. So I spoke to Paul from Gameslaw this morning, and I said, just to confirm you're happy for the giveaway again. And he said, well, since you didn't do one last month, do 2 this month. Okay, so we're going to do 2 giveaways this month. Vicky's going to put a link in the chat right now. Okay, so the link is going in the chat. All you need to do is click on that link. It takes you to a Google form. It will ask you for your details, your name, your email address. It will ask you for a secret word, which is, are we going with cracker? No, we'll go with reindeer. Okay, reindeer is the secret word. So all you need to do is put reindeer, and you will get entered into the draw. If you are a patron supporter, please put that you're a patron supporter. You will get a second entry into the draw as well. So yeah, basically as a thank you to give something back to my patron supporters. The link is actually going to stay live until the 3rd of January. So if you're not watching this live, if you are watching this afterwards, as long as you are watching this before the 3rd of January, you can still enter the contest. The link is in the chat. I will also put it in the show notes of the video. And yeah, all you need to do is just put the word reindeer in there and you'll get entered. And then I'll go through and I'll pick a winner. If you win, you get £25 worth of games vouchers from Gameslaw, and I'm going to pick 2 winners. So 2 different people are going to win £25 worth of games vouchers. Right. Okay, Dan Codden Jones. We've got 3 questions left, I think. No, 4 questions left from the ones that were asked in advance. So this is from Dan. He says, I've seen on different occasions that I like the Arkham Horror the card game, but I hate roll to resolve as a mechanism. He was just curious at how I reconcile the two, because although Arkham Horror the card game doesn't have any dice, you are not rolling to resolve, what you are doing is you're drawing a token out of the bag, which is effectively exactly the same, okay? So Arkham Horror has 2 core mechanisms, 3 core mechanisms, which I don't like. The first one is drawing the token out of the bag is effectively roll to resolve. And the variance of the tokens in the bag can range between +1 and like -5, okay? So it is the sort of the same as rolling the dice. And because, unlike the attack modifier decks in Gloomhaven, you put the token right back in, shuffle it and then draw a new one again, it's almost exactly the same as rolling a dice, okay? It has that in it. I do not like that mechanism in a game. It also has the mechanism where you can try to boost your chance of success by spending stuff before the roll, before you draw the token out of the bag. Now, I really don't like that mechanism in a game either, because I don't like the situation where you're like, oh, we really need to make sure we do this. I'm going to spend this resource and I'm going to spend this and you're going to spend that. And then we draw the +1. Oh, so we would have succeeded anyway. So all of that was a complete waste of time. And on the flip side, oh, okay, well, we need to succeed in this. Let's put that in, let's put that in, let's do this, let's do that. Let's draw the token out of the bag, auto fail. In other words, everything you've just done, that 2 or 3 minutes of discussion about all the resources you want to spend, complete waste of time, auto fail, okay? I don't like those mechanisms in a game. Why then is Arkham Horror the card game one of my favourite games? 2 reasons. 1, it's cooperative, okay? That level of roll to resolve in a competitive game, I would avoid like the plague. I would never play a game. I say never, no, not unless you paid me a lot for charity. I would never play a game with those mechanisms if it was a competitive game, okay? But it's a cooperative game. And I've come to accept that sometimes that can actually build the tension. Some of my most memorable moments in the Arkham Horror card game have been from things coming out of the bag that have absolutely devastated the entire game. And yeah, sometimes they can be Massive. I mean, there was the infamous one where, you know, we were trapped in this forest and it was nighttime and Emily was going crazy. Her character was going crazy. And then she had this monster on her or something like that, and Rob shot it with his shotgun and accidentally hit her and killed her, right? That happened. That was a memorable moment that happened because of the random bag pull. But the other thing with the Arkham Horror card game, and this is its saving grace, is the rest of the game is so good, right? The story's so good. The narrative is so good. The feeling, the atmosphere and playing the game, they are so good that they outweigh the negative things for me. So with that game, I have learnt to accept them because they are just part of the game, and the rest of the game makes up for it. There you go. That was a long answer, but that's it. I haven't actually ever done a review of the Arkham Horror card game, but if I did, I'd bang on about that for about 15 minutes. Right, Mick wants to know, and this is a less philosophical one than last month, have I ever played Die Macher? And if so, what is my opinion of it and which versions have you played? So, I first played Die Macher at Manacon in 1990 something. I can't remember exactly when it was. I think it might have been 99 or maybe 2000. And it was the Valley Games version. So Die Macher, for those who don't know, is the #1 game on Board Game Geek. As in, it is the first entry on Board Game Geek. When I started really seriously getting into board games in the late 90s, Die Macher was like regarded as one of the best games of all time. And, you know, and I never played it. And then finally I got a chance to play the new Valley Games version of it and hated it. Absolutely hated it. Couple of reasons. The first one is that there was a part of the game which just didn't fit at all. There was something, Valley Games had done something in the new version, I can't remember exactly what, but they'd done something with the cards and they'd changed something which wasn't explained in the rules at all and didn't make any sense. And I was like, oh, well, that's a bit rubbish. Second, the game has like 8 phases or 9 phases. And in some ways, the game is ahead of its time because there's a lot of things that happen in those phases which are in modern board games. You know, the game deserves the respect that it has for being what it is. And it was great. And I was spending a bit of money and I was moving a cube here and I was doing that. And I felt, oh, not that I know anything about German politics, but this felt like a really good game. And then we got to phase 4 or phase 5, where we basically flipped a card over and completely random stuff happened. And it was like, hang on a minute. This is like a 5-hour heavy strategy game with loads and loads of planning and loads of careful calculations. And then there's this flip of a card that is realistic, but it totally throws everything out. So the group that I was playing it with, I think there was 4 of us that were playing it, maybe 5. We got 3 rounds in and 4 of us never wanted to play the game ever again. Now, Tim, who was teaching me, a good friend of mine, Tim, from years ago, still is, he was like, oh, I thought you wanted to play the game. But the rest of us, just none of us wanted to play it again. So that was my opinion of it. Until, was it this year? It was either this year or late last year. I have a copy of the new Spielworks edition and I have played it and the stream is on the channel. So if you want to see me playing through the new version of Die Macher, there is a video on the channel of me playing the new version. I liked the new version better than the old one. I remember speaking to Uli from Spielworks about it, and I remember him telling me the tweaks that they'd made to the system. Or maybe I was misremembering the old one, I don't know, but I enjoyed the game. What I think about the game, and the reason why I'm not playing it again, is it's too long. Okay, the game is just too long. It's a very good game, and the way that the mechanisms work and the way that it all fits together is good. It's just too long. And if I was able to play, if there was an online version where I could play asynchronously, I'd be up for another game. But it's too long for what it is. So anyway, there we go. Do I regret playing it? No, I do not regret playing it, and I do not regret doing the live stream of it, and I enjoyed it, and I'm very happy I played it. It's just the playtime is what's keeping me from going back to it, because I've wanted to go back to it. At least 2 or 3 times in the last year, I've wanted to go back to it, but I'm like, oh, it's going to be 3.5 hours or whatever. So yeah, I haven't. Last couple of questions, and then we'll go to the live ones. So this is from She Dupet, who says, they're a technical writer trying to transition from the manufacturing sector into the gaming sector. And I know you're not watching live because you said you wouldn't be able to watch this live, but you're going to catch this afterwards. What is my opinion or experience? In my opinion or experience, what is the best way to break into the market of writing game instructions? Now, I've obviously done this, but the way that I did it, is that a way that I would recommend other people do it? It would be weird if I said no, because that's how I did it, but I accidentally did it. I didn't mean to do it. So I don't think that you can, and I might be wrong on this, but I don't think you can go to a games publisher and say, dear Mr. Games Publisher, you have no idea who I am, but I'm a technical writer and I'd like to help you with writing your rulebooks, right? Now, I don't think you could do that, but you might be able to, because if you've got a good, strong background in technical writing and you're able to prove whatever qualifications you've got or anything like that. And a lot of publishers out there do need help with their rule books. A lot of them don't know they need help with the rule books. A lot of them know they need help with the rule books, but still don't do anything about it. Maybe you'll get lucky, you know, maybe you will. But for me, the way I did it is not deliberately, right? I was working with these publishers for 2 to 3 years as a fan beforehand, before gaming rules existed. I was helping out CGE with their rule books, doing demos for them. I was helping out What's Your Game and things like this. And I was doing it because I was a fan of them. So at the point where gaming rules was created and I decided to start offering my rulebook services professionally, I was already doing it. I was just not doing it for any payment. And that might work as well. Much as I hate the idea that somebody works and doesn't get paid for it, that's what I did for about 3 years, okay? And I say I didn't get paid for it. CGE would give me a box of games and I'd sell them at half price to my friends, right? So yeah, okay, I got paid maybe 100 quid for 6 months of work, right? I wasn't doing it for the money. And maybe that approach will work. If you approach a certain publisher and you say, hello, Mr. Publisher, I'm a big fan of your games. I really like your games. I do rulebook writing and editing, this, that, and the other. I'm not going to charge, but if you were interested in, running some rulebooks past me, I'd love to help you out. As I say, that's what I did, sort of, but it makes me uncomfortable to recommend that to other people. Because A, I don't want people to work for free, and B, I don't want publishers to take advantage. I don't want you to work for a publisher and spend, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 hours helping them with a rule book, and then you say to them, right, this was really enjoyable. I hope you've seen the work that I do. Thank you very much. If you want to continue using me for rule books, here is my hourly rate. And they say, oh, no thanks. Right? That's not fair on you. And I don't want that to happen. So it is difficult, but I don't know how else you can do it. As I say, I did it, and people have asked me a lot of times how I did it because they want to do it as well. And for me, it was kind of a combination of circumstances. Right, last question. And this is from Steve from One Stop Co-op Shop, which is another content creator on YouTube. If you don't subscribe to them, go and check them out. He does a lot of solo playthroughs. I think. Pretty sure he does. Anyway, he says he's been working on expanding the content they produce and looking to go into the live area. Now, this is what I did. I was producing content for years, and it was only until we had the broadband upgrade at home, which is when I was able to start doing the live stuff. So he's asking me to share my thoughts and experiences, and he sent me this email this afternoon. I said, I'll tell you what, Steve, it would be easier for me to answer this on the live Q&A than it would be to write back to him. Specifically, he's curious about my choice of platform because I use YouTube for my live streams, but I have used Twitch in the past. So I no longer use Twitch. What I did is I started using Twitch when a lot of other people started using Twitch. Twitch seemed to be growing in popularity. So I found a way that I could multi-stream to both YouTube and Twitch at the same time, and I started doing it on both. Now, I no longer stream to Twitch. Personally, I don't like Twitch as a streaming platform, and I know there are people out there who say Twitch is the best ever and YouTube's rubbish, but there are a number of things about the Twitch streaming platform that I find, yeah. First of all, I found it very difficult to actually set the name of the stream ahead of time. It always seemed to be picking up the last one. Now that's just user error. But what I'm saying is it wasn't intuitive. I couldn't work it out. So my streams always ended up with the wrong name. And then when I renamed the current one, it renamed an old, I don't know. Then it doesn't keep your streams for ages. You have to, a few days after, you have to download them and then upload them to YouTube if you want to keep them, because otherwise they disappear. I'm like, well, and people do that. And I'm like, why are you doing that? You know, I don't know. Twitch is obviously the latest, greatest thing, and there's a lot of board game streamers using Twitch now, and the community there is fantastic. For me, I don't care whether you use Twitch or YouTube. If you're a board game streamer and you've got something I want to watch, I'll go and watch it. If you're on Twitch, I'll watch it on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, I'll watch it on YouTube. For me, the YouTube interface is better. When you join in a live stream on YouTube, you see the chat. When you join in a live stream on Twitch, you don't see any of the chat history. Okay, whereas YouTube, if anybody joins YouTube right now, they will see all of these messages and they will be able to see all of the previous ones. So for me, I've gone back and forth between the two. It would be tricky for me to advise you which one you should use. Personally, YouTube, that's the one for me. It's just much easier. It's more intuitive. It's all there. But there is a lot of people streaming on Twitch now. And one of the disadvantages with all of the people who are now streaming on Twitch is that there are a lot of people out there who think if you're not streaming on Twitch, you're not streaming. Okay? And this is one of the downsides of the growth in popularity of Twitch. And again, nothing against anybody who uses Twitch, but I have spoken to a number of people and they went, oh, well, I didn't realize you did any live streams because you're not on Twitch. And it's like, yeah, some people out there have become focused on Twitch is the only place where board game streamers are streaming to, and it's not, all right? There's people like me, Rado, Heavy Cardboard, people like that. We're not using Twitch, we're using YouTube, and we still are. So anyway, that's it. That is the end of all of the questions. Russ has just popped in the chat. I just noticed, Russ for Chits and Giggles, Russ is streaming on Twitch. If you're not following Russ on Twitch, yeah, Russ does loads of live streams on Twitch. I don't know, Russ, do you then take them down and put them up on YouTube afterwards or not? I'm not sure if you do or not. Yeah, YouTube had a raid feature. Yeah, I've seen the raid feature. It's fun, and I've seen it. It helps to build the community, and that Twitch has a lot of those built-in things that really does help the community, which YouTube doesn't have. YouTube just has this and the chat, and that's about it. So, right, that is the end of the live questions. So, no, that is the end of the Board Game Geek questions. Now on to the live questions. So, do I want to remind people about the contest again? Yes, I will. It's better if I read it out. So, quick reminder about the contest. Vicky's going to post a link in the chat right now. If you're watching this either live or if you're watching this before the 3rd of January, please enter the contest. The secret word is reindeer. All you need to do is put in your name, your email address, the word reindeer, and if you are a patron supporter. Games Law have given me 2 £25 vouchers to give away. So basically, if you are chosen, I will do the draw on the 3rd of January, just before we go back to work. And yeah, if you're drawn out of the hat, you will win £25 worth of vouchers from Games Law. Right, so questions that people have asked in the chat. So yeah, thank you very much to everybody for asking these questions, and we're going to go through them and see how long we're here for. Right, Stacey has got a question. What game am I most looking forward to in 2021? I have less of an idea of this than most people in the chat, I think. I can tell you what games I'm looking forward to working on next year, but as a gamer, I'm mostly unaware of what games are going to come out next year. What I would have to do is, yeah, Steve said the going outside game. What I would have to do is I would actually have to start looking at some other people's videos of games that they are looking forward to next year in order to know what's coming out. So there are games which I'm already looking forward to working on next year. ISS Vanguard, I've no idea whether the game's going to be any good or not, but I'm looking forward to working on it. Vitor Lacerda's next big game, Weather Machine, that's probably not even going to be out next year. It will go on Kickstarter next year, but it probably won't be out until 2022. But I'm looking forward to working on that. I'm looking forward to working more on Frostpunk. I'm looking forward to working more on Endless Winter. Andreas Stedding has got a new game coming out, Stroganov, which I have. Could you just get the board for it? There's a board against the doorway. So yeah, one of my existing clients, Game Brewer, there's a new game coming from Andreas Stedding, and they've asked me to do a tutorial and playthrough video for the Kickstarter, which is going live in February. I don't know anything about the game other than it's Andreas Stedding, and I love his designs. And they sent me the board. So I don't know if I'm allowed to show this or not, but here we go. Here's a bit of the board. They've sent me this board because in the game that they sent me, the board was faulty or it was wrong, so they've sent me a new board. Now what's odd is that only the board has arrived. I haven't actually got the rest of the game yet. So anyway, that's a game which I am looking forward to. As for whether it's the game I'm most looking for, it's definitely not the game I'm most looking forward to, but I don't know. But this is a good question for the chat. So if you know of a game which is coming out in 2021, which you think I'm going to absolutely love, please tell me about it in the chat now, okay? I'm trying to think, has Alexander Pfister announced a new game? I might speak to Alexander and ask him what he's got coming out for next year and if it's public knowledge or not. So yes, let me know. If you know of a game that's coming out next year, which you think I'm going to like, let me know in the chat. Right, next question. This year, your name has been popping up on a lot of Kickstarter campaigns with you helping from the rulebook. Which one am I most proud of so far? Oh. Which one am I most proud of being involved in? Oh, yeah, there's been a few, hasn't there? I mean, the big ones are Frostpunk, Batman, Dead Reckoning, Endless Winter. Oh, gosh. What else? What else has my name been mentioned on? So out of those, Proud is a different one. Those rule books are not out yet, so I'll hang fire on the Pride until the rulebook comes out. Which one am I most proud of working on? It's interesting. I think it might have to be. I don't know. I haven't really thought about this. It's really hard for me to. I'm going to say Frostpunk because I've got a story to tell about Frostpunk that I think is an interesting story. But to be honest, if we're going to talk being proud, any publisher that contacts me and says, we need the #1 rulebook editor to work on our rulebook and we're contacting you, how can you not feel proud? Okay. So these people are not contacting me because I'm cheap. They're not contacting me because I've got free time. They're contacting me because they've been told and they've heard that I'm one of the best rulebook editors out there. So that is obviously quite a good feeling. But the Frostpunk story is an interesting one. So a friend of mine who used to work, and I'm not going to name names. So he's a friend of mine. He used to work for company X that was one of my clients. Is no longer one of my clients, who then went to work for company Y, who was one of my clients, who now isn't one of my clients, then left company Y and started to work for company Z. And he sent me a message, and this is going back 18 months, maybe? I think this is about 18 months. He sent me a message and he said, Paul, he said, I can't tell you too much, but I've left company Y now. I'm now working for such and such a company, and I can't tell you anything about it, but we've got a new game coming out soon, based on a very, very popular IP, and I have put your name forward as the person to work on the rulebook. Okay? And I went, ooh. And he wasn't allowed to tell me what it was, but he dropped enough hints that I'd worked out it was Frostpunk. Now, Frostpunk is a computer game that is one of my favourite games. I think it's fantastic. It's a city building survival game, and the theme and the flavour and the atmosphere of the game is just mankind's struggle to survive. It's just fantastic. Really, really, really good game. I have done a whole series of live streams of me playing the computer game, if you're interested in that. So I went, is it Frostpunk? And he went, yeah, but don't tell anybody. And I was like, well, yeah, consider me. And he told me who the designers were, and he told me bits, and brilliant, right? And then it all went quiet. And I never thought anything more of it. He never got back to me, and it just went quiet for like 9 months or something crazy. And then I saw an announcement on Twitter or something like this from a company called Glass Cannon Unplugged that they're doing Frostpunk, the board game. At which point I went, wait a minute, didn't I have a conversation about this? So anyway, I reached out to them on Twitter and I said, hi, can I talk to you about your game? Right, this is my Twitter account, which is Gaming Rules. And the message I got back was, hi, is that Paul? And I'm like, yeah. He said, can I call you? And I'm like, hang on a minute, what's going on here? A company, I've just reached out to them on Twitter and he knows who I am and he wants to ring me. So 10 minutes later, I'm on the phone with the head of Glass Cannon Unplugged. And he says, yeah, we want you to work on our rulebook. And I'm like, what? What? He says, oh, yeah. And then what they'd done is they'd actually got, because they'd been working on the game for a while and they'd been working on the game full time, they'd actually got a grant from the Polish government to help fund them while they work on the game, ready for it to go on Kickstarter. In order to get that grant, they had to give a costing thing. My name was mentioned in that grant. So when they applied to the Polish government for the grant, they said, and we're going to need such and such a money to pay for Paul Grogan to write the rulebook. And I didn't realise any of this at all until that day, and I never forget it. I was downstairs in the afternoon, Vicky was eating her lunch, and I was having this conversation which was completely out of the blue. Anyway, since then, I've got to know the guys from Glass Cannon Unplugged. I'm really enjoying working on the project. I'm working with Adam Kwapinski, who's a very well-known games designer, another genius out there. And yeah, I'm working with some really, really great people in the industry on a very, very exciting project. And there's a lot more work to do on that because we only did the rulebook ready for the Kickstarter campaign. There's a huge amount more to do in 2021. I'm very much looking forward to that. And yeah, I'm quite proud about that. I'm also very proud about what the owner of Glass Cannon Unplugged said to me when the project was sort of not wrapping up, but when the Kickstarter was coming to an end and it was all going well. He basically said to me, he said, Paul, having now worked with you for the last 2 months, everything everybody had told me about you was true. And he said, I never want to do another project ever again without your involvement. I was like, oh, okay. Right. So if we're talking pride, that's probably the best one. Right. George says, favourite train game? Oh, it's a good question, George, because what is the definition of a train game? Is Russian Railroads a train game? Some people think it isn't. I personally don't think Russian Railroads is a train game. I think Russian Railroads is it's a Euro-style worker placement game with a train theme, but I don't think it's a train game. So, train game. Now, I've got Age of Steam. I've got Age of Steam down here, the deluxe edition of Age of Steam, and I do enjoy Age of Steam, but there are parts of Steam, which is the offshoot of Age of Steam, which I prefer. So for me, the perfect train game is a cross between Age of Steam and Steam. What other train games do I like? I'm not a big 18XX fan. I'm trying to think what other train games I really like. It probably is a cross between, unless I'm forgetting one, which I probably am, but it's probably a cross between Age of Steam and Steam. I've also played Railroad Tycoon once, and I wasn't keen on that. That definitely took things outside of my comfort zone. So yeah, probably between those two, I think. Scott is asking me, did I get any socks for Christmas? I did not get any socks for Christmas. What I did get for Christmas though was, well, I got this Under Falling Skies t-shirt from CGE. What were the things you got me? I got a big box of baklava. I got a fidget spinner, which I desperately need, which I'm not actually using at the moment. This is okay. I got some goggles for painting, but you got me something else. Sorry, the cat's got me something else. Was that for me? No, that was from us. That was for us. Yeah, so no, I'm not a big Christmas fan. I don't really go in for Christmas. I'm almost impossible to buy anything for, because anything I kind of want, I just go on and buy. But since we're talking about Christmas, I can tell you what I got Vicky for Christmas. Now, bearing in mind, before you think, oh, Paul must be rolling with riches if he's able to spend this much on Vicky. Bearing in mind, I haven't bought Vicky anything for Christmas for about 5 years, okay? Because I'm a terrible boyfriend. And it was this year was the year where I decided to do something about that. So I bought her the Millennium Falcon, the big Lego one, and I can show you now where we're up to with it. Oh, I'm all mic'd up, hang on. Yeah, it's all right, I'm trying to get, yeah, right. So, this is where we're up to. I say we, it's just Vicky that's doing it. It's starting to take shape. This is still bag number 1 of bits. There are 7,500 pieces, and it's going to take about another month to build. But this is where we're up to with it at the moment. The manual, do you want to just take that? Oh, this is funny. So this is the instruction book that you get in it. Right? This is really heavy. This is probably about 3 kilos in weight. It's 461 pages, and it's just ginormous. So, and I've just ripped it. Sorry, it's really heavy. There you go. Right, so I've just destroyed that. I just destroyed Vicky's Christmas present. So no, didn't get any socks. Stevie wants to know, has there been a stream where there was not a technical problem? I don't think so. I would say there hasn't been any technical problems in this stream, but we've had the chat disappear 3 times. So no, there always seems to be some kind of technical issue. I think some of the live streams that I've done in this last week, the Fighting Fantasy books, one of them there was an issue, and I know what that was, but the other ones, they went without issues. So yes. Have we cracked the giant jigsaw puzzle yet? I guess that's that. Yes. Don wants to know, how do I feel about games that do not offer solo games right out of the box? And do you think that in today's standard it is harder to justify games that start at 3 players and up? Okay, I'm going to answer the second part of your question first. I absolutely agree with you that if a game right now says that it's 3 or more players, it is harder to justify. But it depends on the game, right? If you've got some kind of social deduction, game that takes 15 people, although a game like that is not really going to get played at the moment very well, I think that kind of game is okay. But if you're looking at your standard Euro game, and bearing in mind, I'm thinking back to the games, when they came out, Princes of Florence and things like that, Taj Mahal, that were 3 to 5 players. 3 to 5 was the standard player count when I started playing Euro games. Now, you don't really see that. Euro games now need to start at 2, even if they have a special mode for 2 players. That needs to be built in. I think if you've designed a Euro game that only works for 3 and 4 players right now, yeah, that's not good. Settlers of Catan is 3 to 4 players. Can you imagine if Settlers of Catan came out now and it was only 3 to 4 players? That would cut off a huge amount of available audience. There definitely needs to be a 2-player mode. How do I feel about games that do not offer solo right out of the box? It would be nice if every game did offer a solo option, okay? I think if a game could offer a solo option, but doesn't, then that's a bit disappointing, right? Because they could have done. So what I'm saying is that I have a lot more time and respect for the publishers who put the time and effort in to doing the solo modes for games rather than not, okay? And I think that's been more apparent, that's been more needed this year, but it's actually been a growing trend for the last few years. And I think it's a good thing, because a lot of people play solo games, and I know a lot of people, Andy Grant is in the chat, And Andy, I think, says if a game doesn't have a solo mode, it doesn't get bought. Doesn't matter how good the game is, if it doesn't have a solo mode, he's not going to buy the game. Because if most of your gaming is solo, why would you? So by adding a solo mode to your game, you are increasing sales. You are increasing the target audience. And this is a conversation I've been having with CGE for over 3 years. And finally, they've seen the light. And this year they've done Lost Ruins of Arnak with built-in solo mode and Under Falling Skies, a solo game. And it's not that they were being stubborn or stupid or anything like that, but for them, culture-wise, in the Czech Republic and as a company, playing games is something you do with other people. None of them ever played solo games, and although I kept telling them the solo gaming market is increasing, they never felt the need to sort of do that. But now they have, and that's good. That is good. What is your favourite game mechanism? Says Paul Snuggs. So I do love worker placement. Worker placement, from the first time I played Kalis, is one of my favourite mechanisms. If you're going to make me pick my most favourite, it might be resource conversion, because I have a real thing for converting one thing into something else, and this comes from playing resource conversion computer games like the Anno series of computer games. You know, if you say to me, Paul, I'm only going to tell you one thing about this game. There's a carpenter, and if you put one wood in, you get 2 chairs out. I'm in love with it. Right away, straight away. Anything where you put one type of resource in, and it converts it to something else, which you then combine with something like factories and production and stuff like that. I like that probably more so than worker placement. Combine the two things together, and you've got a winner. James wants to know what is the best and also the worst rulebook you have ever read or tried to read. So the worst rulebook that I have ever tried to read, because of course there's been some really bad rulebooks out there, but thankfully not ones that I've had to read. I would have to say, and I hope they don't mind me saying this because it is one of my existing clients, is the original Conan rulebook. We tried to play the Conan game when it came out with the original rulebook that got printed with it, and I know some people have disagreed with me on this. We were unable to play that game from the rulebook that was provided, and some people have really argued against me on that and said, Paul, you're talking nonsense, the game was totally playable from the rulebook. We were not able to play it from the rulebook. We got 3 hours in, and then I had a character that had this thing and it wasn't explained anywhere what this thing is or what it did. I don't want to be playing a game where I'm literally having to guess or make up rules as I go along. So that was probably the worst one that I've ever had to read. I think, although there have been a few, there's been a lot of bad ones for games that I've been asked to work on before it got published. But in terms of published games, that's that. The best rulebook. So best rulebooks that I've not been involved in. I've always said Great Western Trail. I think Great Western Trail and Mombasa and Russian Railroads, I think those rulebooks are very good. Also, CGE rulebooks before I got involved. Okay, I can't say CGE rulebooks from when I was involved because that wouldn't be right, but before I got involved in doing rulebooks with CGE, the Dungeon Lords rulebook, the Space Alerts rulebook, the Galaxy Trucker rulebook, I think those 3 are all fantastic rulebooks at teaching you how to play the game. And I wasn't involved in any of those 3 at all, I don't think. Oh no, I was. Yeah, I removed the letter A from the Dungeon Lords rulebook, and that is the first rulebook that I was ever professionally involved in. They sent me the rulebook the day before it went to print. I read through it, and there was one phrase in there that said, as hard as a Swiss cheese. And I said, the phrase is, as hard as Swiss cheese, remove the letter A. And they removed the letter A, and the rulebook went to print. So I was involved in that rulebook, but only by doing that. Paul Allwood, sorry he hasn't had a chance to watch all the recent Choose Your Own Adventure. Good to hear from you, Paul. Good to see you. Given how old they are now, did I find that the narrative seemed very dated? So I actually answered this in 1 or 2 of the streams. and I spoke to Vicky about it. So Vicky's a big reader. Vicky reads a lot of books. And what was it I called you? You're like an advanced reader. Vicky can read a book and tell whether the writing style is well written or badly written. Or I don't read, full stop, really. I don't read any, I don't read books, okay? I read rule books. I don't read actual novels. But when I do read novels, I'm very easily pleased, and I'm not an advanced level reader. So I actually asked Vicky what did she think of the writing style in them, because I felt it was quite good, and I was fully expecting to go back to them. So for those who don't know, I've recently finished a whole series of playthrough videos where I played through, it's not here, no, it's all right, City of Thieves, a fighting fantasy game book. This book was written in 1983. I played it as a kid, and I wanted to go back to it, and I wanted to replay it, and I was fully expecting the writing style to be very much aimed at kids and not very good. And I was wrong. The writing style for me was absolutely fine. And I don't think, although the style of the game has dated with the sudden dead ends and, oh, you're dead because you chose the wrong door, I don't think the writing style is dated. For me, I felt it was perfectly fine. So yeah, good question. I did have that concern, but it was all right. Right, Stacey has got a question, which is asking you the question. Okay, no, Vicky's not sure. So Vicky will play a few games with me, but is less aware of what's coming out next year than I am. Is there any game that's coming out next year which I think is one that we would particularly enjoy? Frosthaven? And the Tainted Grail Wave 2. Yeah, so Tainted Grail Wave 2, we're going to play that together and we'll enjoy that. And Frosthaven, which I think is going to come out next year. Yeah, should be out next year. So yeah, they are ones that Vicky's looking forward to. And of course, any exit games or unlock games or Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, anything like that comes out, yeah. Right, Graham says, which games from 2020 are you most disappointed to have not had a chance to play yet? Oh, now that is a good question. Because this is live, I am just going to very quickly pull up a list of Board Game Geek. How can I, there was a most anticipated list. Most anticipated games 2020. No results. Okay, let's try again. Board Game Geek, most anticipated 2020. The most anticipated games of 2020. Right, I'm going to look through this list. Okay, so Kingdom Rush is on there. I've played that. Root. Was Root released this year? I thought Root was last year. Root's been played at a convention that I've run. Now, this is not it. No, this is something completely different. I have no idea what this is. So, yeah, games that have come out this year, which I'm disappointed not to have played. Oh, not sure. I'm trying to find this list. This list should be here. Oh, here we go. I need to read on. There we go. I needed to click a button. Right, so let's have a look through this. Alma Mater, if that's how you pronounce it. That is a game which I've heard lots of good things about. It's by the same people that published Coimbra, which I really like. So yeah, Alma Mater is one that's on my list to definitely look at. Not played that yet. Castles of Tuscany, I'd like to try and play it. I'm not disappointed that I've not played it, but I do want to try it, considering I'm a massive Stefan Feld fan. Dwellings of Eldervale, I've heard good things about that. What else is on here? There's a lot on here that I have played. My City, I've been hearing good things about that recently, but again, I'm not disappointed that I haven't played it. Just looking through the list. Tekkenu, definitely Tekkenu, because a lot of you are saying that that's potentially favourite game of the year. So that would be on the list as well. I believe there is a copy of Tekkenu on the way to me. Board and Dice contacted me this week and asked me for my address. So either they're sending out the Hitmen or they're sending me some games. So there you go. There's a few. There's a few. Right. Stevie wants to know, if I think about the overall crop of games released in 2020, do I think it rates as one of the better years for board gaming in the modern era? If not, which years beat it? I can't answer that on the fly. I can give you my standard question. My standard answer. And this is the standard thing that I say every time that there is SNEs coming around. There are a number of people, and I'm friends with some of these people, so I hope they're not watching this. Every year before SN comes out, where there's the big list of all of the new games that are coming out, they read that list and they say there isn't a single game on that list that they're excited about. Now, that's fine. If they're not excited about anything that's coming out, that's okay, right? But I think that's it's a bit sad. I look through the list every year and I go, oh, right? And I get excited about new stuff coming out all the time. Not because it's new and exciting, and not because the old games aren't good, but there's always something new. There's always something new and exciting. So do I think this year has been a good year for games? Yes. I think this year has been a cracking year for games because we've had some fantastic games this year, okay? As I said, we've had Tekkenu that people are saying is really good. We've had Red Cathedral that's really good. I used to think back of the whole year about what games have been released this year. Prague Kaput Regni is really good. There's been so many good games this year. I don't know where it rates compared to last year. I would have to, we can do this offline. It's not something I can do on the fly. I would have to look back at all of the games that got released this year, and then all of the games that got released last year, and then all of the games that got released the year before, in order to compare years, which might be an interesting exercise to do. But I'm not sure it's worth the time to do that. What would be the benefit for me in thinking this year was a better year than last year? It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter to me, but I just know there are a lot of good games coming out all the time, and there's definitely always something to be excited about. So, Sergio wants to know, with more gaming using digital media because of COVID, have I considered doing playthroughs with other streamers? I have actually done that. I have done some playthroughs with other streamers. I have had Monique and Naveen on the show from Before You Play. We played Glenmore 2 together. I've done Marvel Champions with Rado. I also did Dead Reckoning with Shay, who does Rado's channel, who helps Rado with some videos for this channel. I've had Board Gaming Ramblings on. What did I do with them? I did Bonfire with Sunniver. I did Frosthaven with both Johannes and Sunniver. I've had Tom Heath on the show a couple of times in the last few months. I've had Tom Heath came on and played Prague Kaput Regni with me and Hallertau with me. So yeah, I've already done that. I've already had a few playthroughs with other streamers. I have a few more planned. I did have one planned for the end of Virtual GridCon, but unfortunately I was too tired by the Sunday. I want to play through the Lord of the Rings living card game with Luke Hector from Broken Meeple. The stream is still on my list of YouTube streams. I've marked it as private for now, but I want to do that at some point. And if you're watching this and you are a YouTube streamer and you want me to come on your show, I'm more than happy to. So yeah, apologies to anybody who I left off there. Next question. Would I reckon that I've played more or fewer games this year than your average past couple of years? Right. Well, I can get you the answer to that question because at a guess, I would say I've played more. At a guess. But that's because of the number of online streams. But what I'm going to do is I am now going to give you the answer of how many games I've played this year according to Board Game Geek. Just bear with a minute. I'm going to click on a few buttons. Talk amongst yourselves. So to date, bearing in mind we're going to play a couple of games between now and the end of the year. Format by month, thumbnails, 5 and dime. I just want. Okay, I don't know if this is actually going to add them up. No, I don't think this is going to add them up for me, so I'm going to have to add them up manually. Okay, right, so bear with us a minute. This is this year. 35, 68, 80, 90, 111, 111, 139, 169, 179, 189, 192, 197, 237, 267, 269, 299, 305, 315, 325, 325, 332. Okay, somebody write down 332. That is how many games I've played this year, according to Board Game Geek, if I log them all. I'm now going to go to the 2019 1231. Okay, and I need to do this by month. Right, okay, so 41, 75, 96, 98, 108, 118, 118, 128, 133, 143, 153, 161, 170, 180, 208, 229, 229, 259, 262, 274, 274, 300. That's less, isn't it? Yes. So this year I have played more games than last year. There you go. That took a while. I'm sure there's an easier way of doing it. But yeah, so last year I played 300 games, and this year so far I've played 330. So I'm 10% up. Winner. Right. Next question. Oh, I've lost the questions. There's the questions. Right. This is from Russ. Here's a question. What do you hope will change about the board gaming industry in 2021? Oh, gosh. Well, there's two answers to this. There is the one thing that we all hope is going to change, in that we can start doing conventions again. But that's just a gimme. Is the one thing that I can change about the board gaming industry in 2021, I hope. So there's a few things, and these are more directed at some people rather than others, because some publishers are absolutely fine in this and some are not. So yeah, if I could wave a magic wand and change the industry, it would be to make rulebooks better overall. And I'm not suggesting that people hire me, because I'm trying to cut down on work. Hire somebody, get somebody external to work on your rulebook and get it blind play tested, right? Get the game blind tested by people. So I want to see, I'd like to see better rulebooks overall, gender neutrality become something that is just a given now, and I don't have to have difficult discussions with people about it, or be called some liberal lefty loony for even trying to make it happen, which, believe me, I do get hate mail from people every time I mention gender neutrality. Please don't send me any hate mail today. I don't need it, but I do get some very critical comments about it when I mention it. Yeah, they're definitely things that I would like to see overall. I would like to also, and this is personally, I would like to see more substance and less bling. I think Kickstarter has made a lot of games go the way of, look at this, this is shiny, and then the actual substance of the game is lacking. And again, I have no influence over this. This is purely my desire for 2021, even though I know it will never happen, because Kickstarters with lots of bling do really well. I want to see bling as an added extra onto an existing, onto a great game that's been well thought out and well planned, rather than the bling come first and then a bad rule book, you know, confusing text on cards and this, that and the other. That's what I would like. Stevie says, what game would I most want to see an app version of, similar to how Through the Ages and Terra Mystica have made? Oh gosh, well, Die Macher. No, what was the other game that I said last week I really wanted to play, but if there was an online version, I'm going to just look on my Patreon supporter Slack channel, because we talked about this last week, and it was a game I really wanted to play, and I said It's a shame that there isn't an online version of it that we can all play this. Where is it? It was only like a few days ago. Black Angel. Yeah. Maybe, yeah, it was just Black Angel. I just got a sudden desire to play Black Angel again, but there was no way of playing it online except for Tabletop Simulator. So yeah, what game... Question for the chat. This is a very good question for the chat. So for the chat right now, what game that currently doesn't have a digital... I'm talking an app, okay? An app on, you know, iOS, Android, Steam, whatever, not just a digital Tabletop Simulator mod. What game which doesn't have an app currently do you want to see have an app? So Root Digital is very good. I have heard it is very good. I've still not played Root, but I have heard the digital adaptation is good. The Spirit Island digital adaptation is fantastic. But what games don't have a digital adaptation that you think should have a digital adaptation? And I'll pick one of those. What do I think is the most overused theme or themes in board games, and what is the least used themes? So the most overused theme. Well, Cthulhu is probably overused, I think. Is it less so now than it was last time I got asked this? Because this is a common question that I get asked, and the normal answer is Cthulhu, but I don't know if Cthulhu is an overused theme now. The least used theme, I'm not sure. What is the most overused theme? Yeah. I mean, we could say fantasy, cooperative, narrative-driven games. I love them, but we've got so many of them. And, you know, one of the games that I'm going to be involved in next year a lot is Agamonia, which is a fantasy, cooperative, narrative-driven, story-based RPG-like game. Is it overused because there's a market for them? Everywhere you turn, there seems to be more of these games coming out. Descent 3rd edition, Folklore the Fiction, maybe other ones. So yeah, I'm not sure. Just going back to the chat, yeah, Mage Knight, obviously, and Mage Knight is getting a digital app at some point. Linda's got to go because she's playing in the Lost Ruins of Arnak tournament. Good luck, Linda. Ancient Civilization theme, overused? Yeah, but it's so good. Diogenics is an app. Trains are the most used theme, says Rick. Yes. An app for anything Fister would be cool. Yes. So Maracaibo app is coming. That's going to be next year. The Mage Knight app, I don't know when that's going to be. Stefan Field app. Yes. Very good. Very good. So yeah, what game would I most like to see an app version of? Right. I'm gonna pick one now that isn't on any of those lists, and I'm gonna pick Too Many Bones or Cloudspire. There you go. I've picked. Get on it, Chip Theory Games. What game do I think? Oh no. Any thoughts about the second edition of Seven Wonders? So I like Seven Wonders. I got it when it came out. I played it a load, and I've got Leaders expansion. I don't even think I've got anything beyond Leaders. So second edition, I know the second edition has just come out, and I saw the new box cover and I was like, well, that doesn't look much different. I've had a look at the graphic design, and I think the new graphic design is better. Other than that, I don't know much about it. I don't know if they've changed any of the cards. I don't know if there's been any rules changes or rebalances. But I think it's about time to do a second edition of it, because why not? You know, it had loads of expansions, and yeah, I don't really have any strong opinions on it. I'm certainly not going to go and buy it because I have my original Seven Wonders with sleeves, and I don't play that anywhere near enough. So yeah, there's no need for me to get this. Yeah, over Seven Wonders. Jilly's saying we can play Too Many Bones over... Oh, you play Too Many Bones over Zoom. Yes, but we're talking an actual app where I can sit there in bed on the iPad playing Too Many Bones. That would be fantastic. I will send a message to Chip Theory Games next year. Right. We have some answers to previous questions. So some of the questions that were asked earlier on... Oh, before we do that, contest. quick reminder about the contest. If you're watching this live and you haven't already entered, or if you're watching this before the 3rd of January, please enter the contest. One lucky winner will get entered. Two people will win £25 worth of games vouchers. What I find interesting is normally these videos get about 40, 50 people watching live, and within a week, the views on this video will normally be in the 600, 700. And the number of people who enter the contest is about 30. So it's free. It's literally free to enter. Just click on that link and go there and you could win. So yeah, please do so. Right, anyway, answers to out of print games that you think should be brought back and given a deluxe edition. So Paul Snug says Renegade. Well, Ricky Royal was in the chat earlier on. I don't know if Ricky's still around, but Ricky will be pleased to see that. Renegade is Ricky Royal's design, and I don't quite know exactly what's happening with it. I know some things about the game that Ricky's told me, but I don't know if I'm allowed to share them, so I won't say it. Rick saying Imperial Assault 2nd Edition. Is Imperial Assault officially now out of print? Have they stopped doing it? Forbidden Stars. Good call. I have played Forbidden Stars once and loved it. Played a 2-player game with Adam. I don't know if Adam's in the chat. I don't think he is. But yeah, played a 2-player game of Forbidden Stars once and I really, really enjoyed it. I thought the combat mechanism was really good in the game. So yeah, Forbidden Stars, good call. Does it need a deluxe edition? No, it just needs a reprint. Arkwright or Tramways? Tramways definitely needs a deluxe edition because I think I had a version of Tramways and I felt the components were severely lacking. So yeah, a deluxe version of Tramways with better graphic design, because the graphic design in the original game is a problem. Is it out of print? I'm not sure. Yeah, Tinner's Trail is getting a new version. Thank you, David. Yes. Tinner's Trail is getting a new version. Arkwright is getting the card game. Robert is also saying Forbidden Stars, and also Rex. Oh, right. Stevie's got a good one here. Attica. Now, Stevie's saying, so Goa got a reprint. Trajan got a reprint, yeah. Attica, did Attica get a reprint? Attica is a brilliant game. Attica, if you were to ask me for my top 10 favourite underrated games, Attica is one of them. Attica is a brilliant game and I will happily play that any day. Really, really good. Right. Deluxe edition of Brussels or Bruxelles. Space Crusade Deluxe. Yes. The secret word is reindeer. Yes, secret word is reindeer for the contest. Right, answers to games that are coming out next year, which you're all excited about, and I'm just going to pick one of these. Sleeping Gods. Now, I do know about that. I think Rado did a playthrough of it. Is that the one with the book? I think it's one with the book. Stars of Akarios. Yeah, so Stars of Akarios. I'm going to be involved in that. The designer actually contacted me this month. I am due to do... What am I due to do on it? I'm due to do something on it. I think it's a playthrough video. I'm doing something. But Stars of Akarios was actually mentioned to me in a live stream. It was one of these live streams 2 or 3 months ago that people mentioned this game to me and I'd never heard of it. And I looked it up during the stream and I was like, oh my God, this looks fantastic. It's like, look it up now, Stars of Akarios. It's like a space adventure, narrative, story, campaign, something. It looked brilliant. So I contacted the designer and said, you don't know me, I don't know you, but your game was just recommended to me. And he's since contacted me and he's looking to use some of my services, which not what I expected, but based on what I've seen of the game, looks really cool. So yeah, that would be up there. James says the adventure book for Robinson Crusoe. Not aware of that. Revision of Bruges. Yes, Hamburg. I still have the prototype under here, but Hamburg and Amsterdam are the new Queen Games reprints of 2 of Stefan Feld's older games, Bruges and Macau. So yeah, they should be out this year because I'm doing videos for both of them in May, I think. So yes, if I wasn't professionally involved in those games, I would be super looking forward to them. I mean, I am super looking forward to them, but I'm involved in them. I'm going to be doing videos for both of those. Descent 3, I'll talk to you about Descent offline, Rick. I'm going to avoid Descent 3 for possibly the wrong reasons. It might be really good. I don't know. But again, we have too many of these fantasy cooperative adventure games. Transcontinental, I still don't know much about it, apart from what Scott was telling me about it in our Patreon Christmas Eve party. And I think it was Scott's favourite game that he played this year. And it was just a prototype. So yeah, Transcontinental. What's the spelling of the last word, says Jin? It's Akarios. Oh, the chat's broken again. Let's come back. I wonder why the chat keeps breaking. There we go. Yeah, Brett's put it in the chat. Oh, the Pledge Manager closes on the 31st of December. There you go. If you're interested in backing it, the Pledge Manager closes. Not that I'm on commission. Excited for Carnegie and Darwin's Journey. I don't know anything about those. Coffee Traders, Capstone Games. Yep, looking forward to that one. Yeah, Darwin's Journey. I don't know anything about that. Ricky's looking forward to Euthea. Yeah, once the rulebook's done, Euthea is, yeah, that's going to be good. Seize the Bean. I thought that was already out. David is looking forward to Frosthaven. 2021 games, Brazil and Artificial Intelligence. Yeah, I'll let you ask them, Scott. So out of those, definitely looking forward to the 2 Stefan Feld games. Oh, Jeremy's here. Hi, Jeremy. Thank you for joining in. I mentioned you earlier on. Jeremy's looking forward to Carnegie as well. So it looks like I'm going to have to check that one out. So yeah, Darwin's Journey's been mentioned. I don't know anything about that. Yeah, so Frosthaven's coming out next year. Very much looking forward to that because me and Vicky will play that together. Stars of Akarios, don't know much about it, but it looks like my kind of thing. The 2 new Stefan Feld games, definitely, because they're Stefan Feld. Although I do have Bruges and Macau, so whilst I'm looking forward to them, I'm not as excited about them as if they were brand new Stefan Feld games. Is Descent 3rd Edition going to have a required app? I don't know, but I would put money on the fact that, yes, I think it probably would need a required app. I think. Oh, thoughts on the new Robin Hood game from Cosmos? I'm kind of seeing these live now. The new Robin Hood game from Cosmos, I only found out about a couple of weeks ago, and I believe it is based on Legends of Andor, and I really like Legends of Andor. So I do have a relationship with Cosmos now. I might need to drop him a message about that. Right, and answers to the digital app that you would like to see. So Wingspan, I thought Wingspan was already out. Maybe it's not out on iOS. Maybe it's just out on Steam. Dwellings of Eldervale. Ohanami, says James. I don't know that game. And Mark is suggesting apps for Tapestry and most of the T games, presumably Teotihuacan, Taiwanetsu and Tekenu and things like that. Seize the Bean is a little late getting fulfilled. Yeah, Seize the Bean rings a bell from like last year or the year before, I think. Jeremy, right, so me and Jeremy have very, very similar taste in games, and Jeremy is currently listing games in the chat that I've never heard of. So thank you, Jeremy. This is really good, actually, because, yeah, people ask me all the time, what games am I looking forward to next year? And all I do is I just look at your list. So, yeah, Dark Ages, Holy Roman Empire, Zapotec. In fact, I think I'd heard you mention Zapotec before. Yeah, I'm going to have a look at that one. And yes, the new Lacerda game, yeah, Weather Machine. Interestingly enough, I've actually sort of half designed a game which is based on a weather machine as well. And then in a conversation with Vittel about 2 years ago, he said he's also designing a game based on a weather machine. So I kind of joked that he stole the idea from me. Yeah. Oh, Zapotec is the next Fabio Lapiano game. Right, so Fabio Lapiano, or Lopiano, yeah, really good designer. Did Ragusa, has also done Merv, Heart of the Silk Road. So if Zapotec is his next game, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that because he's, yeah, a good one. Surviving Mars is out next year as well, apparently. So yeah, Surviving Mars is the solo stroke cooperative add-on to On Mars. It turns On Mars into a cooperative game. So that's Surviving Mars. Do I have any information about the second expansion for Teotihuacan? I do not. No, I do not. Or any information on the next T game, which was announced a few months away. Oh, Scott is also saying one versus many. Oh, okay. So, so Surviving Mars looks like it takes On Mars to all other play modes. Right. I'm now up to date with the questions. So, and we are at 6:40. So it's been about the right time. Can we play Surviving Mars? Yes, we can play Surviving Mars, Rick. Definitely. There's no dragons in it. Oh, Mars is becoming an overused theme. Well, it was a couple of years ago. Have there been any Mars games, not counting On Mars, which was on Kickstarter last year and got released this year? Has there been any other Mars games coming out recently? I don't know whether there is. Anyway, we're going to wrap things up now. This has been fantastic. This is the last live stream of this year, unless I decide to do a live stream on New Year's Eve, which I'm not going to do. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching. Couple of little things. First of all, please click the little thumb on the video. It really does help. And if you are watching this not live, if you're watching this afterwards, please put a comment in the chat. Just let me know if you enjoyed it, because those comments really do help the YouTube algorithms. If you're not subscribed to me, obviously on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe to me. Click that little alarm bell so you do get the notifications. And a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. This has been a massively difficult year for a lot of people. I've been very lucky in that me stuck at home and not being able to leave doesn't affect any of my work whatsoever. That doesn't mean that the current global situation hasn't affected me. It has. Also, the other things going on in the world, they have affected me as well. Being worried about the state of the world and things like that, that this year has gone off the scale, as it has for many people. It's been a very difficult year. But one thing this year that has been very much rewarding for me is the Patreon support. I was fully expecting when March came for the support on my Patreon to start dropping. Fully expecting that because of all the uncertainty that's going on in the world, people being financially affected by the COVID pandemic and things like that. And not only has the Patreon support, generally speaking, not dropped, it's actually gone up. And whilst that's good from a financial point of view, it's more a thank you to everybody for all of your support, because the plan moving forward is actually for me to be doing less commissioned work and more Patreon work. So my Patreon campaign pays for a number of the content, a lot of the content that I produce. All of the non-sponsored content that I produce is funded through the Patreon. And I want to continue to do more and more of that, and actually less of the commissioned work moving forward. And obviously the Patreon support on the Slack channel for Patreon supporters is a very active and it's a comfort zone for me. It is one of my safe places that I can go to. So to all of you Patreon supporters out there that are on the Slack channel, thank you very much for keeping me sane this year and putting up with all of my rants and everything like that. And yeah, if you are in a position to be able to support me, then please do so on patreon.com/gamingrules. I mentioned this is my last live stream for this year, but January 2021 is going to be a very interesting month for me because I'm going to do something that I've never done before. I am going to be taking the whole month off from doing sponsored streams. I am going to be producing a lot of live content in January, a lot of live streams, and none of it is paid for. So all of the live streams that I do in January are purely funded through the Patreon. I'm going to be doing multiple playthroughs of Too Many Bones. I'm going to be playing the entire Maracaibo campaign. I'm going to be playing the entire Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth campaign. I'm going to be doing loads of computer games as well. I'm basically still going to be doing a full-time job, but it's going to be mostly live streaming, playing games. And I'm only able to do that thanks to the support of the Patreon campaign. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, who knows what happens after January? I mean, I've actually worked out that it would take me 3 months that I'd have to take off work to get played all of the games that I want to play. I'm going to be very happy at the end of January that I've ticked off a number of things that I really want to do, but there's still more to do. And there's still a lot more content that I do want to produce. Right, so contest. Last chance. I'm going to wrap things up soon and go for some food because I'm very hungry. Are you hungry? I'm starving. Yeah, last chance to enter the contest. As I say, just drop in link. Vicky's going to drop the link in the chat. Click on that, takes you to a Google form. put the word reindeer as the secret word, and we are good to go. Yes. Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. And thank you, Daniel, for becoming a new patron supporter. Yeah, that's everything. I'm exhausted. I'm going to go for a lie down. Yeah, what a year. I will speak to you all in the new year. I will be back on Monday, the 4th of January. I can't remember what I had planned, but I'm actually going to be looking at it this coming weekend. But I will be back on Monday, the 4th of January, with me playing games, live streams. I don't know exactly what yet, but it will be back on the 4th of January. So, yeah, have a good new year. When is it? 2 days away? It's Wednesday now. Tomorrow? Yes, tomorrow. Yeah, New Year's Eve is tomorrow. So whatever you do, however you celebrate it, I'm not a big Christmas person, but New Year is kind of something that I do like to celebrate. And we're getting together with a few friends and doing basically a Zoom virtual party because you know we can't do anything else. We're not allowed to, especially after today's announcement in the UK. But yeah, take care, everybody. Thank you very much for watching, and I will speak to you all soon. Gaming Rules is proudly sponsored by Game Toppers, upgrading your gaming experience. Visit GameToppersLLC.com.